Welcome to Coffee with Viking. I am Mike. Cheers. And if you've been following me on the latest thing I've been doing with the Faithful in the Fire, welcome back. We are on part 2 of the second session, which is integrity, which is the follow-up to different values. So let's dive into it. Integrity. The second way Christian men show we're different is by refusing to compromise our integrity. The 4 Hebrew men in this passage were likely teenagers, yet they were guided by the strength of their convictions, even when setting them aside would have been easier, and refusing to do so threatened to cost them greatly. And the passage we're about to jump into is Daniel 1, 9 through 16. Now God had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my Lord, the king, who hath appointed your meat and your drink, for why should he see your faces worse liking than the children which are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king. Then said Daniel to Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and drink and water to drink. Then let our countenances be looked upon before thee in the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat. And as thou seest, deal with thy servants. So he consented to them in this matter, and proved them 10 days. And at the end of the 10 days their countenance appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. Thus Melzar took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they should drink, and gave them pulse. When they made the request to the king's chief eunuch, he could have had them killed. After all, he was afraid of the king, as we read in verse 10. And disregarding or dismissing Daniel's request would have been easier and safer than trying to accommodate it. But Daniel met the man's concern with Christ-like compassion. Christians should always hold our convictions with compassion and not with judgment, like I've noticed some do, but I've noticed a lot actually do use Christ-like compassion like here, and that's what we should do. Christians should always hold our convictions with compassion, treating those with different convictions with the same kindness God has extended to us. Now, a question for you all to think about. Why should we resist the urge to be adversarial or argumentative toward people who have different convictions than we do? Of course, my belief on why is because if we argue with anyone or start a fight over it, we can push them away from God without realizing that's what we're doing. And then we can have them shut that door forever and never come to God. We could be the reason that people run straight into the fires of hell by fighting with them. So it's always best to show compassion, the same compassion Christ showed us. And here's another one to think about. How might kindness open a door for the gospel? And my belief for that is the same as the other answer I gave. When we show kindness, we may actually open someone's mind to the thought, maybe this way is the right way, and maybe they'll look into it and find Christ while seeking to find out why we were so polite to someone that disagreed with us. But these are questions I want you guys to think about too. Holding his convictions, Daniel gave favor with the official, but that won't always be the case. This passage is not a promise of a magic formula, but an example that points forward to Jesus, who sought peace even with those who reviled him. And that's true. I mean, we can show compassion to other people that will call us weak, cowardly, call us every name in the book that I'm not going to say on here. But there's a lot of cases where we can open doors for people. Well, God can open doors for people through us, through our words, through our actions. And then there are those whose hearts are already hardened. But it is still good not to argue even with those types of people, but to always leave that door open. Because I believe as long as we have breath, we have hope for salvation. He is the one we emulate, and he is the one we pursue. For the follower of Jesus, convictions can't be set aside because everything we do is done first and foremost as an offering to Jesus, even when it cost us. And the thing is, the sacrifice Jesus made, it cost him everything in the most brutal way. So we need to be willing to sacrifice everything for him as he did for us. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to be sent to the cross, but there will be hard times, and there will be those who turn against us, and it can cost us dearly. But like in the book of Job, we can gain so much more by remaining faithful, even in times of loss. Maybe you've heard the story of Eric Liddell, whose story was featured in the movie Chariots of Fire. Maybe you can hear the theme music now. Eric was an incredible runner who was also a committed Christian, and he was recruited for the 1924 Olympic team for Great Britain. But he soon learned that the 100-meter qualifying heat was to be held on Sunday, and he wouldn't run on Sunday. His convictions were that Sunday was the Lord's day, which a lot of people do get that wrong. Sunday is not the Sabbath day, but I respect his conviction. The seventh day is the Sabbath, which is actually Saturday. It is actually a Catholic thing that Sunday became the Sabbath because of, I was told it was a belief to give God the first instead of the last. And he wouldn't run on Sunday. His convictions were that Sunday was the Lord's day and that it would dishonor God for him to run on Sunday. The British team appealed to the Olympic Committee to change the date of the heat, but the Olympic Committee wouldn't budge. It became a big scandal, and the British papers skewered him. He became a worldwide laughingstock. His team switched him to the 400-meter race, but it was a totally different race that required completely different training. Against all odds, he won. After he won, he said, "Those who honor God, he will honor." And there's a lot of truth to that. Again, this is not a promise or magic formula. Sometimes you do the right thing and suffer. God often uses our refusal to compromise to show off his power and glorify his name. And there's a few more questions here for you all to think about. In what areas of life would it be easier to compromise your integrity than to hold Christian convictions? To be honest, I don't see anything in this world that's worth compromising Christ for. I don't see anything worth going to hell over. Why should we refuse to set our convictions to the side, even if we know other Christians who do? Because, like I said, there's nothing in this world worth going to hell over. And it doesn't matter what other people do. It doesn't matter what people think of you. All that matters is what God thinks of you. Can you think of any other examples of men who held their convictions despite cultural pressure? What can you learn from them? Well, I can name the biggest name of all. That was Jesus Christ, who held his convictions and went to the cross for all of us. But then there was also Noah, who became a laughingstock building a boat when they never got rain. There was, of course, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. There was the apostles, and the list goes on. And there are a lot of people today that hold on to their convictions and don't compromise. And I hope one day that we all make this list of people that held their convictions. Now I want to close this out with a quick prayer. Jesus, I know that it could cost me greatly to hold on to my convictions and how I know I need to live for you. But I know that it would cost me even greater to deny you and avoid being convicted by this world. Please be my strength. And please keep me strong in the faith, even when the fire comes. Please be with me. I want to serve you always, even if the fire starts cutting through me. I still want to praise you through it. In your holy name, Jesus. Amen. Stay blessed. Stay caffeinated. Much love.